Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopijana Vallabha Girivaradari Gopijana Vallabha Girivaradari Yasodanandana Bhajan Janaranjana Yasodanandana Bhajan Janaranjana Jamuna Tira Banachari Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Sri Krishna Caitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Jaya Sri Krishna Caitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasadi Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna. Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada. Nitai Gauda Haribo, Haribo. Haribol Nitai Gauda Haribol. Jai Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Jaya Jaya Sri Caitanya Jaya Nityananda. Jaya Jaya Sri Caitanya Jaya Nityananda. Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrindam. So, from the previous ones? Oh, to I. Oh, so they were skipped. Oh. Okay, cool. So we're reading from Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, Madhya Lila, chapter 1, text 18 and 19 and 20? 19 and 20? Yeah, what's there? Nityananda Haridasa Shrivas Gadadhara Mukunda Jagadananda Murari Bhakareshwara. Nityananda Haridasa Shrivasa Gadadhara Mukunda Jagadananda Murari Bhakareshwara. Nityananda Haridasa Shrivas Gadadhara Mukunda Jagadananda Murari Bhakrishwara. Nityananda Haridasa
Nityananda Haridasa Shrivas Gadadara Mukunda Jagadananda Murariva Krishwaram Nityananda Lord Nityananda Haridasa Haridas Thakur Shrivas Thakur Gadadhara Gadadhar Pandit Mukunda Jagadananda Murari Brakeshwara Vakreshwara. Right. Translation. All the Vaishnavas, associates of the Lord, were present, including Nityananda, Haridas Thakur, Srivas Thakur, Gadadhar Pandit, Mukunda, Jagadananda, Murari, and Vakreshwar. Next verse reads, Savarat charane dhari pade dui bhai, sabe bhalo danya tumi, paile goshani. And that translates as, in accordance with the instructions of Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu, the two brothers, Rupa and Sanatan, immediately touched the lotus feet of these Vaishnavas, who all became very happy and congratulated the two brothers for having received the mercy of the Lord. Okay, so I understand that the previous class last weekend skipped a number of verses, so we're going to read them after we read this purport of Srila Prabhupada, and then to have a context of what is that this particular section is describing. Srila Prabhupada says, this behavior is indicative of real Vaishnavas. When they saw that Rupa and Sanatan were fortunate enough to receive the mercy of the Lord, they were so pleased that they all congratulated the two brothers. Do we all know who are we talking about? Are we here? Are we landed here? Yeah? So they means all of them. And we're talking about Rupa and Sanatan asking blessings according to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's instruction, and therefore they were very happy, very pleased, and they all congratulated and blessed the two brothers. Srila Prabhupada continues, a jealous person in the dress of a Vaishnava is not at all happy to see the success of another Vaishnava in receiving the Lord's mercy. Unfortunately, in this age of Kali, there are many mundane persons in the dress of Vaishnavas. And Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur has described them as disciples of Kali. He says, Kali Chela. He indicates that there is another Vaishnava, a pseudo Vaishnava, with tilak on his nose and kanti beads around his neck. Such a pseudo Vaishnava associates with money and women and is jealous of successful Vaishnavas. Although passing for a Vaishnava, his only business is earning money in the dress of a Vaishnava. Bhaktivinoda Thakur, therefore, says that such a pseudo Vaishnava is not a Vaishnava at all, but a disciple of Kali Yuga. A disciple of Kali cannot become an acharya by the decision of some high court. Mundane votes have no jurisdiction to elect a Vaishnava acharya. A Vaishnava acharya is self-effulgent, and there is no need for any court judgment. A false acharya may try to override a Vaishnava by a high court decision, but Bhaktivinoda Thakur says that he is nothing but a disciple of Kali Yuga. Om Agyanati Mirandasya Gyananjana Salakaya Chakshurun Militam Jena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swaminiti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvisesha Sunyavari Paschatya Deshatarine. So from where it wasn't read? Yep. From 209 onwards? Okay. So we're going to read the verses from 209. This is 219. So just to have a context. By the way, this is the initiation of Rupa and Sanatan. So it's a very important event that it's taking place. So this is what's going on from 209. You have written, this is Lord Chaitanya talking to them, you have written several letters showing your humility. I can understand your behavior from those letters. By your letters, I could understand your heart. Therefore, in order to teach you, I send you one verse, which reads as follows. Parabhyasanini hanari vyagrapi grihakarmashu tat eveshwadhayatyantar navashangara dasayanan. If a woman is attached to a man other than her husband, she will appear very busy in carrying out her household affairs. But within her heart, she's always relishing feelings of association with her paramour. I really had no business, Lord Chaitanya continues, in coming to Bengal, but I have come just to see you two brothers. Everyone is asking why I have come to this village of Ramakeli. No one knows my intentions. It is very good that you two brothers have come to see me. Now you can go home. Do not fear anything. Birth after birth, you have been my eternal servants, and I am sure that Krishna will deliver you very soon. The Lord then placed his two hands on the heads of both of them, and in return they immediately placed the lotus feet of the Lord on their heads. So the Lord placed his two hands on their heads, and then they placed the lotus feet of the Lord on their heads. After this, the Lord embraced both of them and requested all of the devotees present to be merciful upon them and delivered them. When all the devotees saw the mercy of the Lord upon the two brothers, they were very gladdened, and they began to chant the holy name of the Lord. Hari, Hari. And that brings us to text 219, this one. All the Vaishnavas, associates of the Lord, were present, including Nityananda, Haridas Thakur, Srivas Thakur, Gadadhar Pandit, Mukunda, Jagadananda, Murari, and Bakreshwara. In accordance with the instructions of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the two brothers, Rupa and Sanatan, immediately touched the lotus feet of these Vaishnavas, who all became very happy and congratulated the two brothers for having received the mercy of the Lord. So this is a very important purport. It's a very significant moment in the pastimes of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Why? Because Chaitanya Mahaprabhu worked through these two brothers, mainly Rupa and Sanatan, as we have them here. Generally we have the 6 Goswamis, but this beautiful photo of Rupa and Sanatan that we find at the right end of the parampara. So these two brothers were chosen by the Lord to exemplify what was his mission. One of the prayers to Rupa Goswami is Sri Chaitanya Manovistam, meaning that he understands what Chaitanya Mahaprabhu wanted. So sometimes we may ask or wonder, how is it possible that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu only produced the Shikshastaka, only 8 short verses that we recite every day? But in fact, he produced so many books through the agency of these two brothers, Rupa and Sanatan. So here they are taking initiation. And Prabhupada begins this purpose saying, This behavior is indicative of real Vaishnavas. This behavior is indicative of real Vaishnavas. And then he goes on to describe what is not the behavior of a real Vaishnava. And who remembers what is the main thing that he mentions about those who are not real Vaishnavas? They criticize devotees. Even before that, they are not happy seeing all the devotees advancing. That's the main point. So, very interesting section here. Chaitanya Caritamrita is how Prabhupada called it, the postgraduate studies of bhakti. So, we have the Bhagavad Gita, where the Lord describes his devotees. Arjuna, first of all, asked Krishna to describe what is a transcendentalist. In chapter 254, famous question by Arjuna, and Krishna begins describing what is the different symptoms. He asks him how he sits, how he walks, how he talks, what's his language, etc. But Krishna goes directly to, shall we say, the heart of the transcendentalist. And what does he say? Prajahati jada kaman. The transcendentalist, the true transcendentalist, the true devotee, the real devotee, doesn't have desires. That's the pure devotee. Doesn't have desires. Prajahati jada kaman. He has abandoned all these desires for sense gratification, etc. So, Krishna describes the devotees there, and then further in chapter 5, as we know, Karma Yoga, Action and Krishna Consciousness, there are more or less 29 verses, most of them describing, again, the devotee. And then we have the famous Chaturshloki, which are 75% or so glorification of the devotees. So again, Krishna, in the famous summary of the Bhagavad Gita, I am the source of everything, but these are my devotees. And he starts describing them. Machita, Magata, Pranam. They're always thinking of me. I am their life and soul. They're always talking about me, glorifying me. And by doing so, they're always happy. Tushanticha, Ramanticha. I help them when they are in trouble, when they don't know what to do. Dadami buddhi jogantam. Teshame vanukampartam. To them, I give them a special mercy. With the torchlight of knowledge, I dispel that ignorance that sometimes may trouble them or confuse them. So Krishna, as you can see in these verses, he is very, the devotees are very dear to him. The devotees are in love with Krishna, Krishna is in love with the devotees. And then we have in chapter 12, the last 7 verses, chapter 12, its title. Chapter 12? Don't say it. Devotional service. Chapter 12 Bhagavad Gita, devotional service. So, at the end of it, we find that Krishna so beautifully, he describes the devotees. And then he says, the one who's like this, the one who thinks like that, the one who does this or that, he's dear to me. Right? And then he keeps on saying, and the one who does that, and this, and that, it's dearer to me, more dear to me. And then he goes on and on. And at the end, the very last verse of chapter 12, 20, is very, very dear to me. Ativa Priya. So, we can see that Krishna is describing his devotees. He likes his devotees, right? Describing. And then at the very end of the Bhagavad Gita, in chapter 18, he says that there's no one more dear to him, right? Krishna says that in chapter 18, than one who does what? Brahmachari should know this. Preaches, teaches, like that. No one, he says, and there will never be one like that. So, Krishna likes the devotees. That's the basic message. He's a person, he has feelings, he has likes and dislikes, and he likes the devotees. So then we find the Bhagavatam. In the Bhagavatam, the same thing. First, the sages of Naimisharanya and Sutta Goswami, and then the story of Narada and Vyasa, and it goes on like that, setting the principle of guru-disciple relationship, right? That's there. But then Krishna comes in, right? Krishna manifests himself in the narration of the Bhagavatam in chapter 7. And he appears with his dear devotees. And who are those dear devotees? Huh? The Pandavas. Yeah, he appears with the Pandavas, and there's a whole drama there. Because guess what happened? The sons of the Pandavas have been beheaded. Imagine. I mean, we take it lightly somewhat, but it is a big thing. My sons are being beheaded. You know, what would be your reaction? And Krishna is there. Right? And every time that Prabhupada will describe struggles, devotees will ask Prabhupada about struggling in this material world, he always will mention the Pandavas, the Pandavas. Because Krishna was always there, and they really had it tough. It wasn't a sweet ride for them. It was very, very intense, but they always had this loving disposition towards the Lord, always depending on His mercy. So Krishna appears, and He protects them, and then we see throughout the first canto how eventually, when the Lord disappears, and Yudhishthira Maharaj sends Arjuna to find out what's happening. What's going on there with the Vrishnis and Dwaraka and all that. And then when he comes back, then he's narrating. I mean, everything seems very inauspicious because Krishna had left already the planet. And then Arjuna is describing to Yudhishthira, remembering how Krishna himself, Soyam Chaiva Bharvishime, he says in the Bhagavad Gita, how he himself has told him what all the sages, all the Vedic knowledgeable people, they have accepted as truth. And now you are saying it to me yourself in Swayam Chaive Bhavishima, he says in chapter, Chapter 10, no? At the end of the Chatushlokis. So we start seeing how Krishna interacts more and more with his devotees. And then in second canto, we find Lord Brahma like that. And how Krishna initiates him through the agency of his flute. He gives him the Gayatri mantra, and then gives him instructions and manifests the spiritual world like that. So Krishna starts more and more manifesting his interaction with his devotees. And then we find in the third canto, what is the main incarnation of third canto? We're studying that one. Kapila-dev. So when Kapila-dev comes, then it's like the professor enters the room, okay? And you had your time to do your reviews and things like that, but now is class time, it's lecture time. And then he starts presenting the Sankhya philosophy, which is also presented in the Bhagavad Gita, right? The identity of the spirit soul and the process of the living entity being conditioned in the material world, appearing in the womb of a mother, and just like, what do you call those? Just like in a slow motion, he describes what happens when we become again and again caught up in this samsara, and then we enter the womb of a mother, and then we're bitten by the insects and pressed there and surrounded by the fluids, and very vivid description. So from A to Z, as they say, Lord Kapila teaches his mother Devahuti. In fact, he's just using Mother Devahuti, his mother, to teach us all, basically. But that's the idea. So all these things are being presented, and then Kapila-dev brings the point of the devotees. Again, he glorifies the devotees. Satam prashanganma mavidya sambido. And then he says something very important. He says, my devotees, relish rasayana. Rasayana means like, how do you call that? Elixir, right? Something that you take and you are revived. You're rejuvenated, right? You are, the vigor comes back to your heart, to your body, to your life. Like that. And how do we do that? Discussing. Satam prashangama mavidya sambido. And bhakti is manifested, Kapila explains, just by hearing. Just by hearing. Avaroha panta it's called. Right? And that it's awakened. Bhakti is not something that comes from elsewhere. Bhakti is inherent. Bhakti is dormant in our heart. And the process of bhakti is to awaken that love that it's dormant at this point. So, and then if we fast forward, then we find the cream, the summum bonum of the Bhagavatam, which is the 10th canto. And in the 10th canto, the description of Krishna interacting with the gopis are there, right? That's topmost, very intimate. And Prabhupada warns us in the introduction, or in the preface of the Srimad Bhagavatam, that we shouldn't jump, right? We shouldn't jump, but at the same time, Prabhupada almost forced us to jump. How did he do that? Krishna book. And it's very interesting. That is one of my favorite Prabhupada's pastimes. Like that. Because, you see, Prabhupada, many times he thought, and he was close to passing away from this world. So he thought, I'm not going to make it. He thought, actually, with the first canto, that's it, because not even having the second canto produced, he had this stroke in 1966, I believe. And he thought, okay, I'm gone. And he was paralyzed from the neck down. Some devotees who were there, Brahmananda Prabhu and others, Gargamuni, etc., they are describing more, but in the Lilamrita, there's not many details about that. There are some details are there, but not so much. But later on, these details came. And now it's known that it was a serious stroke, and he almost died. So the thought of Prabhupada not being able to complete his mission, which was to produce the Bhagavatam, the Caritamrita, etc., so it was always in his mind. And so at some point, later on, after a few years, he produced the Krishna book, right? Even before completing the Bhagavatam. So he just, like a trailer, right? Like this movie is coming, right? The Mahabharata, and everyone, the whole ISKCON world and above, beyond, everyone is talking about this. And I saw some clips yesterday from cinemas in India, packed with the school kids, packed. The whole school is there, you know. I mean, that's the land of piety, yeah? And all the kids there, very emotional and talking about Nishingadev, and incredible. It's just incredible. I was just thinking that I think that one sign of the movement really expanding is when our cinemas are full of Krishna conscious movies of sorts, yeah? Like that. Let's wait. So even in our lifetime, we start seeing that these phenomena. Now it's coming here. I think it's coming to Tweet the next Thursday. I called them yesterday. I said, what happened? It's not there. He says, no, wait till Tuesday. On Tuesday, we're going to put them. I was like, come on, you have to find out. This is very important. So anyway, just like that, the trailer is there. So Srila Prabhupada brought the Krishna book. Right? He wanted us. And there's a whole pastime how the Krishna book appeared. He was beginning a Ratha Yatra, forgot now where. And the advanced copies came, and they were giving it to Prabhupada. And Prabhupada was so elated, so blissful, and so ecstatic that people immediately start coming to Prabhupada, and Prabhupada start selling them. I forgot for how much, I think $10, $20 or something like that. one after the other, that he sold the whole box. And he didn't even keep a copy for himself. Imagine. He was so blissed out. Right? So like that, Prabhupada had that intensity. That nectar of devotion explains, Bhaktivinoda Thakur and the Acharyas explain that lolium, it is condemned by Rupa Goswami in the initial verses of the Nectar of Instruction, Upadeshambrita, that lolium will destroy your devotional service. Lolium, or desperation, or fixation, whichever name you want, greed for material things. But lolium for Krishna, that's what it's required. In fact, that's the only thing that it's required. If we don't have that, we will never get Krishna Prema. We need to be desperate. Like a famous motivational speaker, once I was watching something for youth work that I had to do. And the fellow is there, he's a black guy from America, and he's there, and there's another black kid and a big afro. And then he grabs his afro and puts him down. And he says, imagine, and he doesn't let go. And he says, imagine if you would be underwater. What would you do? And everyone's laughing, kids in school, high school or something. He says, what would you do? And then he's like, start getting desperate. He says, that's what you require to have success. He says, that's what you require to have success. You become desperate. I cannot live without Krishna. That's when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu took initiation. That's what happened. He came back, he was transformed. Before he was arguing, he was teasing the brahmanas, he was doing all naughty things like any kid would do. But then when he came back, he was crying and crying and crying. Where is Krishna? Where is Krishna? Where is Krishna? That's all what came from his mouth. Like that. So, after all that, those presentations of Krishna, the Bhakti Shastras about the devotees, then we come to Caitanya Caritamrita, right? So what is the Caitanya Caritamrita? Before, there were explanations about the living entity, the conditioning of the jivas, the creation, material world, things like that. But Caitanya Caritamrita is directly to the heart of bhakti. And it's the description of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's pastime and his devotees. And the most important devotees, shall we say, of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu are Rupa and Sanatana. And they are being initiated here. Their previous name, who remember the previous name? Some of the younger devotees? David, David Kash, that's how one devotee used to remember it. David Kash, and Sakara Malik. All right. Actually, they had Hindu names, right? So we say Sanskrit names, but these names were given by the Muslims. That's how they call them. Actually, Malik in Bengal it means boss, right? Malik. If you go to some shop and you have a problem, you say Malik Kotai. Where is the boss? And then they said, oh, Amar Malik. I am the boss. Sometimes they tell it. And then I said, no, Boro Malik. Oh, Boro Malik, big boss. So he says, the owner. Oh, okay. So you need to know a few things like that. Yeah? Sakra Malik. So he was like the big boss, big guy, big person up there. Prime Minister, Prabhupada says he were like at the level of Prime Minister, Finance Minister, like that. So these two brothers were the recipient of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's mercy. And now they are being initiated. And their name is changed. And Prabhupada quotes previously the reason for changing those names, I think from some Purana or something, right? Is in text 208. It says, Sankat Chakradi Urdhva Pundra Dharanadi Atma Lakshanam Tan Nama Karana Chaiva Vaishnavatvam Ihochate. After initiation, the disciple's name must be changed to indicate that he is a servant of Lord Vishnu. The disciple should also immediately begin marking his body with tilak, Urdhva Pundra, especially his forehead. These are spiritual marks, symptoms of a perfect Vaishnava. This is a verse from the Padma Purana. It's not tradition. It's not, what do you call that? What's that word? Huh? It's just cultural. Oh, they do it like that somewhere there. It's a tribal thing, like the British would say when they went to India. These are tribal things that they just don't. No, it's Puranic. It's an instruction from the Puranas. It's optional. That's the word I was looking at. It's optional. No, it's Puranic. This is what Srila Prabhupada is referring to. So these two brothers are initiated. And what is the first instruction that the Lord gives them? Let's try to make a bit of memory of what we read. What is the first instruction that the Lord gave these two brothers? Huh? Oh, that's later. Yes, get blessings from the Vaishnavas. And nowadays, sometimes we see that in some initiations. Right? I noticed that the initiating spiritual master, he asks the initiates to go and get blessings from devotees. In Mayapur, I often see that. The devotees go and touch. Especially you see when devotees are taking sannyas, and then you see all the local sannyasis, they come, and they're seated there, and the devotees who take sannyas, they have to go and get blessings from the other sannyasis there. Or senior devotees, doesn't have to be only sannyasis. So this is what they are doing. Now, they respond very positively to this. And Prabhupada begins this purport. This behavior is indicative of real Vaishnavas, right? This behavior, the attitude of taking blessings from the devotees. Not only because Krishna is saying that, not because Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is saying that, but what are the practical benefits, shall we say, of getting blessings from Vaishnavas? What do you think? In general, doesn't have to be any particular, but they clear the path, right? They go ahead, right? Like the little elephant, sometimes you see these videos, right? And they're lost and they're goofing or like that. And then the big elephants go, and then sometimes they fall or they're crossing a river or a lake or something like that, and then the big elephant comes and grabs them and they like that. Or they hold onto the tail of the mother elephant like that, and then like that. They're protected. Right? That's so yeah, they clear the path. Anything else? Inspiration. Yeah. Exactly. Inspiration. They inspire us. Right? Amazing. I was just reading in the Indradurna Maharaj a description of what's going on in the Polish tour. You read that? It was all over social media anyway. That he was thinking to cancel the Polish tour and rather take the festival elsewhere in Europe. Have been doing it, I don't know how many years, 30 odd years or something. And then he thought, okay, enough, let us go elsewhere. And then the devotees and devotees crying and people from the public coming and saying, I heard it's the last one, please, Maharaj. And a little girl, 11-year-old, she had a question for him because 2 years prior to that, she heard Maharaj's class and then she wanted to ask a question. So they approached Maharaj before he came to the stage to give the final class, the final kirtan. And then she asked him, what was the question? She said, why am I so happy when I chant Hare Krishna? Imagine. That was a question. Right? So Maharaj writes and he's reflecting because people were saying, yeah, we can do it here, we can do it there. They try in Italy, they try in other places. But then he was thinking, I'm not sure about this. So he was reflecting, meditating, what Krishna wants. What is that what Krishna wants? So he was thinking of that. Krishna, give me a sign. So all these things were happening. He describes a few of them. And then when she asked the question, and then he explained, and then she asked the question. is it true that it's the last one? Like, sad face. And then he's like, oh. No, so like a few people stopped him like that. So when he came up to the stage, he said, and I make a formal announcement, an official announcement. This won't be the last one, and we will come back next year, and until we have life in our body, and everyone ecstatic, So like that, devotees inspire you, like that. Krishna inspires you. The devotees and the devotees inspire all other devotees like that, and the inspiration goes around. So, very important section of the Chaitanya Charitamrita, because this is what it means to be an initiated devotee. Initiated means, like when you start the car. You start the car, it's not that you sit there for 2 hours. Oh, okay, my car, nice car, it sounds nice. Like my father is expert, I guess, still alive, of hearing the engine. And he could pick up, a block away, what type of engine. Maybe some of you are expert. What type of car are you, Krishnagana? Can you pick up what? Yeah, he knows. Local man, he says it's a Subaru, it's a Mitsubishi, it's a Chevrolet, it's a this and that. And then he taught us. And then sometimes he'll bet, okay, which one is this? He will test us like that. So the idea is that when we take initiation, something needs to change. Or something needs to at least start changing. Right? It may take a long time back. I remember Bayasaki Prabhu came to South America for our Latin American festival. It was held in 1994, I think, in Lima, Peru. So many sannyasis came, Lokanath Swami, Rinal Maharaj, Mukunda Maharaj, and others. And, hundreds of devotees from Argentina up to Mexico, everyone gathering there. So it was amazing. And what I was saying? Bayasaki Prabhu, yes. So Bayasaki Prabhu came. So he was the rock star at that time, right? Of ISKCON Kirtans. So he was there. So he came up to the office to take lunch with my Guru Maharaj. And they were discussing about maturing the emotions of bhakti, right? So it was too high for me, I was just serving and trying to do things right. And the point was that at some point in our lives, they were reminiscing when Prabhupada initiated them. He says, I was initiated in 1968, my Guru Maharaj said, and I forgot now when, I think early on, also by Asaki Prabhu. And then he said, they were saying, we have to become mature, we have to, And yes, because otherwise, we drag our initiation, and we are like new devotees, and we are, failing in our rounds and failing in our principles and offending, criticizing, getting into that, and remaining as neophytes and canistas. And then anyway, so they were going on, and I was just, trying to see that everything is in place and arranging and serving like that. And then at one point, my Guru Maharaj turned to me and he says, when are you going to get to become mature? And I just froze because I was just thinking, okay, generally he says, okay, the rice first, the dal later, this, that. He says, when are you going to become mature? This was in 94. And I always remember that, he said like, come on, hurry up. So this is the important point of initiation, that we commit our lives to change. It may not happen immediately. Some of us are very slow. And this time we just went to take darshan of Jagannath in Puri. And after that we went to take darshan of our Guru Maharaj. Generally it's the other way around, but because of the timings we had to do it that way. So we were there, and he asked us to sit close. He was sitting here, so I was just almost touching his knee, because he cannot hear properly. So I was telling him about New Govardhana and the system, and he was asking about the yoga school in the Krishna village, and then I said the Krishna Pad, and then we have the ashram, and then he's like, oh, okay, how many people? And he started asking all these details. He says, if I want to go to New Govardhana, how am I going to do it? Because I'm buying a round-the-world ticket, and they only give me 4 stops. He's so detailed, he likes these details. I said, no, just fly from Sydney. You can come to Brisbane or to Gold Coast, like that. And anyway, so we were discussing. And then at some point, he raised his voice and he said, Prabhupada told me to expand the preaching unlimitedly. He said, I've heard this many, many times. I know it's one of the 30 or nearly 40 instructions that Srila Prabhupada has given him. And then I thought, I more or less knew what's going to come next, because that's his next line is you have to help and this, that. And then he says, and I asked ChatGPT how to do it. And everyone it was like a change of gears, a detour. And ChatGPT gave me so many things. And I started thinking, oh yes, we can do this, we can do that. So I'm a little anti-AI and ChatGPT and those things. But he said that. He says, and then he's pointing at his secretary. He says, isn't it? And the other ones were laughing. He says, yes. He says, oh, he says so much. They couldn't stop reading all the things that ChatGPT had said about how to expand Krishna consciousness unlimitedly. And then he put his hand up again and he said, and you have to help me because now I cannot travel before I used to travel. And then my wife said, Guru Maharaj, we're missing Mayapur so much. We are very happy there and blissful and the devotees and everything and lots of service. But Mayapur, this and that. And then I was observing, just like having a camera to see what he says. He didn't say anything. But the only thing he said, buy a round the world ticket. And you can stop here, there. Maybe you can pay maybe 2,000 something. I'm paying 6,000 for business class, but maybe in economy. He's such a preacher. He's such an enthusiastic person. And I always heard from him and others, Radha Maharaj, Bhakti Charan Maharaj, Gopal Krishna Maharaj, so many of these great preachers who had so much success. Prabhupada is talking about devotees who have success. That, Prabhupada, it's like, what's that example? That fired, when something gets heated, it becomes fired. Prabhupada explains that, like the iron becomes fired, red and hot. So in the same way, Prabhupada had so much intensity to serve Krishna, to preach, to make devotees, to expand the movement. So he has touched these devotees, and somehow we are sometimes touched by them, and it lasts for a little while. Bhaktibhushan Swami, he said once, somebody asked him a question, and then he said, for a neophyte, enthusiasm lasts for 2 weeks, more or less, he says. I have counted. Guru comes, big festival, and then we are like ecstatic. Yes, I'm going to do this. You go to India, you take darshan, you talk to the Guru, and then, yes, we're going to do this. 2 weeks go, and like, what, is any pizza, lasagna in the menu or something like that? That's what Rina Maharaj always says. So we need to keep ourselves in close association. We need to keep ourselves enthusiastic and remembering what are the instructions. And therefore, that's why we need Vaishnavas. Because the Vaishnavas remind us. We need to hear the classes, we need to talk to them, listen from them, follow their example, pay our obeisances. Jagatarini Matai, Buriyan Prabhu's wife, he always says, not only the present Vaishnavas, but also the previous Vaishnavas. He says, you can read their life, their pastimes, their writings, their teachings, their example, and you are surrounded by Vaishnavas all your life. And I remember one time a neurologist told my Guru Maharaj, he said, Swamiji, you need some peace and quiet so your body can heal, can rejuvenate, and in that way, he's a kind of I don't know, like a new agey kind of guy. I don't know. But anyway, he was saying these things. And then my Guru Maharaj always listens to all these people. And then he looked around, he said, in my room, the whole day, it's from 4 people to 10 people, the whole day, 24 hours a day. At night, there are 4 devotees who come and looked after his health. He says, how do I do? I feel very happy. Sometimes it's like a party going on in my room. But how do I do, Mr. Neurologist or whatever, doctor? And then he scratched his head. He says, 4 to 10 people every day? Yeah, he says, yes, it's like that, isn't it? And then the secretaries and servant, they're all like cheekily smiling because it's such a nectar to be in the presence of advanced devotees like that. So that's the idea. We have to become real Vaishnavas. This is what Prabhupada is indicating. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu showed that in the forms of Rupa and Sanatan. There's more background in regards why he says at the end the judgment, the court judgment. This is because the Gaudiya Math was going through some things and they are fighting who's going to be the acharya for the math. And so the court says this, the court says that. That's why he says real acharya doesn't need a rubber stamp or a court judgment. A false acharya may try to override a Vaishnava by high court decision. But Bhaktivinoda Thakur says that he's nothing but a disciple of Kali Yuga. Okay, so we stop here. This has been discussions on the initiation of Rupa and Sanatan. Any questions, any comments, or any additions or subtractions? No, that's all right. I have time. I fast in the morning. Yes. Bhakta Mike. Someone was saying that Bhakta Mike is like some of us. Some days works, some days doesn't work, some day works powerfully, some day just halfway decides to quit.
Thank you, Prabhu. Just apologies, it's very late for everybody. Just when you mentioned Krishna book, you started, my mind expanded on that period of time. So it's more of a comment than a question. But the Srila Prabhupada came with the first canto. In that short period, he did the Nectar Devotion, Teachings of Lord Chaitanya, Bhagavad Gita, and Krishna book.
Mm-mm.
If you think about those books alone, even if it was nothing else, everything is there, right? In that very short period. First canto, Krishna book, Teachings of Lord Chaitanya, Bhagavad Gita, Nectar Devotion.
Mm.
I mean, it's quite
in America.
Because
the first canto was
produced. But in
produced.
the first few years, he did all that. I mean, he pretty much gave the essence of everything straight away.
Yeah.
Very interesting.
So the 10th canto is summarized in the Krishna book. If you're one of those like me that says, I have no time, read the Krishna book. That's the whole 92 chapters of the 10th canto. And if you don't have time, this is Devamrita Swami's challenge, suggestion, last time he came. If you don't have time to read the Chaitanya Caritamrita, which book you should read? Teachings of Lord Chaitanya. That's what our Guru Maharaj also told us. That Prabhupada told him, and then he said, no, but you don't have Chaitanya Caritamrita out. He says, read Teachings of Lord Chaitanya. He says, when I read Teachings of Lord Chaitanya, it blew my mind. Right? So I don't understand how people dare to say that Prabhupada just gave us the basics, just gave us ABC. Prabhupada gave us everything and beyond. He said, and he started telling us what he found in the teachings of Lord Chaitanya. And he said, when I read Chaitanya Caritamrita, my mind literally blew. All the rasas, all the bhavas, all the mahabhavas manifested by God himself. And some people dared to say that Prabhupada didn't give us all. He said, Jai Srila Prabhupada ki, Jai Sri Chaitanya Caritamrita ki, Jai Gaur Premanandi Hari Bol.